Hey guys, Condavour here with a video on the T91 SBR that I have. I'm putting a foregrip on the regular handguard. If this is something you're interested in, I'll show you exactly how I did it, what kind of setup I used, and just some of the basics about it. Just to cover some bases, putting foregrips on some things can get you in some hot water if your overall length is over a certain amount. I'm not going into any of the details. Just be sure that it's legal for you to have a vertical foregrip on your T91 in whatever configuration it's in. This one's an SBR, so it's all good to have a grip up front. So just be aware. Anyway, I'll get cut to some of the rest of the video. So this is an upper that I very much so enjoy. I really like the piston using a suppressor with like this dead air style mount. It works just really well. I only have one real complaint with this upper, and it is the lack of availability of good handguard options. And I shouldn't say that this is a bad handguard option, but this handguard works great. The factory one, this is the stock 2-piece plastic polymer handguard. The only problem is it's compatible with like a screw mount for some mounting of an accessory up top here, maybe like a PEQ or something like that, one of those designators, or maybe a flashlight, I don't know. I don't really know what the Taiwanese would do with it, but it doesn't give you the options of having a foregrip or really a sling mount on the side or really a light mount. Now, there is kind of a little hacky thing, and we'll get into this. You can potentially use these slots like MLOK. And if you're putting something that isn't like zero sensitive, obviously, we're not going to talk about anything. Nothing that I'm going to do here, we should be putting things that are zero sensitive on like forward red dots. You should keep all that back on the receiver. But for like a flashlight or a sling mount, these could work. All you have to do is file the inside edge. This dimension between these 2 points here, between the two holes, is just slightly too tight, so you got to file it in just about 0.5 millimeter on each of them, and then you can fit MLOK for a small device up on there. You'll only be able to fit it directly between the two, but it's another option. What my goal is today is to take this handguard and set it up more similar to this handguard that is the one that I had on it that I'm going to be taking off of it because I'm just not a big fan of it, which is that it has a sling mount on one side, so a quick detach sling mount on one side, and an MLOK foregrip underneath. So I'm going to get into this. We're going to see how it turns out. Hopefully it turns out well. One of the things to always remember when you're modifying a part like this, you're effectively ruining the part potentially. Just assume from the get-go that you're going to destroy the part. Price it out. This handguard is $75. If I ruin this handguard, I'm out $75 for a replacement, or I just put the China-made gas blowback one back on there. So let's get started. Just you want to consider that you are potentially destroying this part. So let's get going. So first, of course, and this should go without saying, make sure your firearm is unloaded. Okay. Now we're going to flip her over. I'm going to take a little punch. Mine's pretty tight on this one. Okay, there we go. Pin's all the way out. Should be quite a long pin once it's all the way out. Pull our bottom handguard off, pull our upper handguard off. Here's the rifle. We will move that to the side. We'll need it later, obviously. So, now we got a couple of things we got to worry about inside here. We got a heat shield. It's going to need to come out. It just slides right out. We will have to adapt this heat shield to whatever cuts we make here so that we can slide that heat shield back in. So I'm probably going to end up cutting a notch in the bottom of the heat shield down here. We have our lower handguard. Now that we got this ribbing here, and we have a couple of things we got to keep in mind here. Okay, so here are the elements of our handguard assembly, and here are the things we want to mount on them. Now there are a couple of things we're going to need to think about. We're obviously going to need to think about the heat shield fitment inside there. We're going to have to cut a clearance in it. We're going to have to think about the angle of the grip on the handguard. Let me grab the rifle really quick so you can understand what I mean. you can see how this handguard ever so slightly tapers upward. If we put our grip right on there, now this might not even be that noticeable, but if we put our grip directly underneath, it's going to kind of angle slightly forward. It's angled forwards, kind of like a raked forward AK grip, which isn't, you know, if you don't mind the angle, that's fine. But we're gonna have to keep that in mind as we're mounting this, so we're gonna try to level it out so that, and you could either modify the grip or you could modify the handguard in order to get that level. So now we are comparing, we have the receiver's side of the handguards right here. This was the position that I had my handguard in before that I liked, but I want the extra hand space that back here is going to provide. So what we're going to do is we're going to emulate this, and we're going to just start with one hole for now. So I'm going to try to find, like, it kind of sets in these ridges just a little bit. So we're going to start there, and I'm going to mark, I'm going to move it slightly forward, and I'm going to mark the back one. So in case I don't like how this fits, I can swivel it and have it be slightly back, and that gives me the option. So we're going to start off with it right here though. So I'm going to mark this rail as the one that we want to use. So now we'll measure and find dead center of that, and we'll mark and drill it. So our actual screw for MLOK mounting is a 4.6 millimeters at the thread. What we're going to do is we're going to drill using a 13/64 at 4.9. It'll give us a little bit of wiggle room. Obviously, when we're doing MLOK, we're going to be getting quite a bit bigger than that. So we'll start small. Okay, we got our hole. Got our hole in place. I'm going to widen it out with a file, and I'll kind of skip ahead on this, but basically just widening it out to about the 7 millimeters of MLOK. Okay, so this is the Dremel. Not really a big fan of this for a lot of things, but in the case of what we're about to do, it's going to be the easiest solution. You want to be very careful with Dremels. Very easy to take off a lot more than what you want to. In this case, we're just going to want to take off a couple ribs here. And I'm kind of realizing that my idea of positioning it and then deciding where I want it later might not be feasible. I'm just going to end up having to blow away these ribs. So I'm going to get some tape on this and basically tape up everything that I don't want the Dremel hitting. So I have some very clear goals, and then I'm going to clamp this to the bench and we will have at it. So let me get prepped. Okay, so as you can see, there are 5 ribs here. Those are the 5 that need to go to meet the footprint of this grip. So taped up the rest of it, double, triple layered the tape around this, just trying to give a little bit of protection so when the Dremel skips off, I have a little bit more to catch it. So anyway, we're going to start really slow. It'd probably be best to do this with a sanding end of it, but I'm just going to do this with this grinder. We're going to try really slow. We're going to have to rework this hole because there will be polymer that fills into it because of what we're doing here. So let me clean this off again. Okay. So let's take off our masking, see how we're doing. So now you can see we got a zone cut in there. And that will let us mount our hand grip below the ridges here. So we'll still have all the ridges on the sides, just won't have them directly underneath the hand grip, which should work pretty well. So what we're going to do now that we have this cleared out, we're going to measure the middle again, find the middle, and we're going to go 20 millimeters down the handguard towards the receiver end. And that's where we're going to put our second hole, and we're going to drill a second hole. So let me measure and mark that, and we'll get going on our second hole. Okay, now we have our rear hole drilled. You can see the front hole's still a little messy. We'll clean it up with a file, but now we have those in line with the front hole up here. And so we will widen these out basically, and I don't really care if I can detach and attach since the handguard's so easy to pull off on this gun. I just kind of plan on having it mounted permanently, but I want these little bits that pop up here, I want those to fall right into those slots. So what I'm going to do now is do some, basically probably Dremel this out just a little bit, and we're going to match these forms in these holes so that we have it just slot right in there. So anyway, I'm going to keep going with that. I'm probably going to skip ahead a bit to not be too boring, but basically just widening out these holes to match those. Okay, so a little bit further on, we have hit our 32 millimeter length spec for MLOK. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm still going to be doing this with a little bit of the Dremel work, is basically getting these notches cut in far enough that they almost fit this, because it's really close right now, but these just got to come in a little bit. Then we're going to do some finish filing on all this to make it look a lot nicer. You know, not the cleanest holes ever, but if this is set up right, this should basically just disappear below this grip. And I think it will. So we push both those through. What I'm going to do is I'm going to actually loosen them first. Wrench in this screw. Loosen them so they pop up. You rotate and lock. Look at that. So we got one locked. I'm going to try to get the other one to lock. We'll loosen it till it pops above. And locks. Nice. Look at that. I'm going to tighten them both up. So I mean, I don't think it's surprising that you can cut MLOK into basically anything. Some things are obviously going to take it a little bit better than others, and I still might need to adjust the angle here. It might be slightly angled forward. The last thing we really need to consider with this is its heat shield, because since this thing slides on like that, we're going to have a big problem with those. Okay guys, so here's how we're going to handle the heat shield. So you can see we have a little bit of a springiness here. That's so that it pops around the barrel and kind of holds this thing up. I realized something messing with this. If I put this in here and I squeeze the top of it, I can get it to go right a little bit higher, and then it'll pop over those two MLOK mounts. So in theory, what I'm thinking I'm going to do is get this, pull the handguard off, or pull the grip off, put this on all the way, mark a couple of spots, drill oversized holes into this, and we should have enough space that we can slide this over and have it pop over our two MLOK mounts. So let's give that a go. So we're gonna go from about 10 millimeters, or this is a 3/8. So I'm gonna see how we look for our measurements here. You can see, okay, a little bit off of that top one. I'm actually gonna take the Dremel, go up a little bit on both of those. Okay, so when it comes to the shield, I just kind of went ham with the Dremel. Cut a couple of holes where we're marked, widened them out until we're gonna clear those little MLOK locking bits. And you can see if I pinch the front and the rear, we can glide it right on over those. And then as soon as we get a little bit further, we snap down in. Heat shield is now installed and just fine. And we're ready to throw this on the gun. So let me clean some stuff up and we will throw this on the gun. All right, so I got the gun back out and we'll throw this foregrip on there and see how it works and see how it looks. So line up the rears, pop it over the barrel, clip in place, and I'll actually pop that down and get the top lined up and on. Doesn't take much force at all, just a light tapping. There we go. We have a handguard with a vertical foregrip, the standard A1. You can see our installation turned out pretty clean. You can only see a little bit of edge of where we lost a couple of the ribs. The rest of it is hidden and it is flush. And you'd be none the wiser. It almost looks like it's a factory option. So now I can do my little in front of hand grip hold. Be happy with the normal handguard with a couple of little modifications. And I can probably sell. Let me know if one of you guys wants this. Email me or something. I don't know. This is the Chinese one. Chinese GBB or gas blowback airsoft for import supposedly rail. But I'm going to be using this one because I like this one more. And I'm not really a big fan of this one because I don't know. It didn't fit the aesthetic of this gun very well in my opinion anyway. So anyway guys, I'll wrap this up. So I'm pretty happy with how this turned out. I'll let you guys know how it works in the future. I really think this plastic is thick enough that it's not going to be any issue. So let me know if you guys have any questions or comments. Happy to respond to anything. Let me know if I did anything wrong. Let me know what else you guys want to see on this channel. I'd be happy to show you guys some other stuff. If you want to see more things like this, or if you want to see some more specific things, I do have an RPK build coming up. I plan on putting a lot of that on the channel. So anyway, hope you guys all have a good day and have a good one.